Why did it take 10 years to make? Oh.
You know, they really wanted to make a difference with their first album.
You know, when he was trying to mix them, he didn't know what the heck he was doing. You know, but Manny, your mixing skills, you know, they're just terrible. The Making of Dinky Donkey. Over 10 years ago, when Matthew and Pearl Nagy began to pursue their new path where they felt God leading, little did they know that they were birthing a new movement that would grow from local house church to worldwide worship ministry known as Glory Company. They also had no idea that the first joyful worship song that they wrote would become a worldwide hit that would be sung in churches and Christian music festivals across the globe. Thousands of people and angels singing Dinky Donkey. And yet, despite all this, Matthew and Pearl's attempts to record Dinky Donkey in the studio would be hampered for over 10 years. Why did it take so long to record and mix a 10-song album, including the beloved anthem about a dinky donkey? What happened along the way? Where did it go wrong? Who stopped the song from coming out and why? Who was involved? Who wasn't involved? Who wrote this script? Why was it never good enough to release? Why didn't anyone help? When did they realize they could not finish it without help? Why am I asking so many questions? Come along on a journey with us as we explore to find out why the Making of Dinky Donkey took 10 years, yet went nowhere.
Why did it take 10 years to make? Oh.
At the start of Glory Company, there wasn't much going on. It was Pearl and I in a big empty room with a guitar worshiping the Lord. That was it. You know, we did that for 9 months until we gave birth to the first Glory Party. It was wonderful. It was not well attended, despite we having lots of friends around and lots of people. But, you know, we were faithful with it. We did it once a month. And eventually, you know, it started to kind of pick up. We started to get like-minded people who just wanted to worship the Lord for hours.
Sure, it was all wonder during the glory parties, but what about the songs? Where did the songs come from?
I always believed in my brother. He always loved music, so it didn't surprise me that he wanted to mix songs and record.
Man, you first started writing songs and you wanted to learn how to record. That was fun.
And we did start writing songs during worship time. A lot of songs came out of thin air.
Dinky Donkey. How did it start? I don't even remember. It's been so long.
You know, there were lots of songs came out of house church. A lot of songs came out of spontaneous stuff and a lot of 3 a.m. wake-ups.
I think it started with us coming out of the local church.
They were trying to have church with the kids. I had my guitar and they were young.
We were trying to recreate this church experience for the kids, which is an absolute disaster. It didn't work out, but you know what came out of that was this little jingle, Dinky Donkey.
I said, hey, what should we sing about? And they said, let's sing about Dinky Donkey. You know, they were just joking around, Dinky Donkey. And like, I rose to the challenge and started just strumming some chords and singing, Dinky Donkey, riding on a donkey, with my Jesus riding to Jerusalem, yeah.
Dinky Donkey riding on a donkey, with my Jesus riding to Jerusalem, yeah.
Donkey with my Jesus, Jerusalem, yeah. All the people are glory, honor, power to you.
And that was it. The song was born. It was hilarious. And, it became a big hit.
Sure, it was all wonder during the glory parties, but getting down to brass tacks in the studio was just another story. I remember when they started recording Dinky Donkey. You know, took him ages. Got himself a Mac and he got himself Logic, and then he just started recording.
Everybody was riding me a little bit. They said, you know, you can't by a Mac and just teach yourself Logic in like 5 minutes and, and record a perfect album and mix it. And I said, well, this is exactly what I'm going to do.
No, initially, no, I had nothing to do with the initial recording of that, really, because I felt it was Matthew's baby and his thing, and he wrote the songs, and so he was the beginning of it. So yeah, he was definitely just doing his thing.
Matthew and Pearl, they were writing songs and recording them, and they really wanted to make a difference with their first album.
As we were recording, it was so exciting. We had all the instruments out all the time, and so we could just pick up anything and just record anything, and it was great. And so recording was quick. The quality was not necessarily perfect, but we would, we make up for that later. We figured,
we just want to make music and gonna make it. So we just made it, and that was all.
Dinky donkey, riding on a donkey with my Jesus, riding to Jerusalem, yeah. All the people cry glory, honor, power to you. How's that?
I remember he was sitting there and he recorded it, and he just thought it was great. He was playing to everyone, and it was so funny. And there's a couple catchy tunes. I was humming them for days.
We are your glory company. We are your glory company. We are your glory company. And we love you, Jesus. Love you, Jesus. Is that good?
I don't think he even took a lesson. I think he just did it. And, what do you think, Polly?
When you're recording, it's an absolute joy. But when you're mixing and arranging and you're not quite getting the sound when you want, it starts to get a little stressful. And you're looking for a scapegoat to take it out on, I guess. That got interesting.
The problem when it's just two people in a band and, and they're having to perform all the different instruments is that, I guess, in a normal band you get all sorts of different input, but when it's just two of you, then, I'm not really sure what happened. One day he was a guitarist, one day he was a bass player. I don't even know who was the drummer. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
Matt's like a bass player, and but then he also had to be a guitarist. Because, he just couldn't quite convey what he wanted to, other guitarists. And, he wanted a certain sound. So he just became a guitarist. And, like me, I'm a guitarist. And, and then he would just play the guitar. But he didn't have any pedals. He was just, it was using what was there, And, he was using acoustic as an electric, and he was using, a broken electric as an acoustic, and, one time he used a ukulele as a guitar. It was just dude, get a guitarist.
I was trying to lead these guys as much as I could, but, they're insisting on all this stuff, and, they're yelling at each other. The bass player's yelling at the guitarist, they're yelling at the keyboardist, the drummer, and, they just couldn't decide on anything together. I mean, the weirdest thing was it was all the same person.
That's pretty hilarious. When you're the guitarist and you're the bass player and you're the keyboardist and you find yourself yelling at each other. Hey, the bass player is going, we need more bass, and the guitarist is going, no, I can't hear the guitar, man, and it's all you. It can be a bit confusing. Listen, I don't care. I want more bass. Don't just stand there staring at me like that. I want more bass. Yeah, that's the stuff that's starting to sound right. but it needs more bass.
You know, it was pointless. You know, there's Matt yelling at the drummer, and you know the drummer was a dang computer. You know, he programmed the thing. If he wanted something different, he should have programmed it differently.
Just when they thought they had recorded the entire album, was barely anything left to do. Sadly, tragedy struck.
When you're a two-person band, you know, you can't yell at anybody. You know, it's like you're the bass player, you're the guitarist, you're the keyboardist, you're the vocalist, you know, you're the drummer, or, you know, or you program drums. Sorry, I'm just remembering Dell. I don't want to talk about it.
Their drummer of the past 3 years, who had faithfully served, gave up the ghost. His motherboard was found spilled all over the alleyway. No one really knows what happened to Dell. Alas, it seems to be the curse of very good drummers to have some sort of strange demise at the height of their career. When Matthew returned to recording again after his period of grief, he said, "We've got to finish this. Let's do it for Dell."
It was really hard when we found Dell. Really, really sad. He had so many years ahead of him. But, you know, life goes on. We had albums to record, and now we had a new motivation.
After 3 years, the entire album was finally recorded, and yet Pearl's vocals were nowhere to be seen.
I thought I had finished mixing the album, and I mixed it to +6 dB, and apparently supposed to mix it to -6 dB and let the mastering guy work. So that was hilarious. But, you know, I thought I was done, and I suddenly went, it was 3 years on, and we're like, oh my goodness, you know, Pearl was barely on the record at all.
How far in was it when you realized that you could actually sing and make melodies?
Just the other day, I think I figured it out.
So we got back in the studio and we made sure we recorded some BVs. So, because over 3 years, when we first started, it was kind of me. I was everything. But as we grew, she grew in confidence. She became a better and better singer.
With some very shy oohs and ahs to help lift the sound a little bit. And that turned into creative flow and loving that and being lost in that.
She was such a vital part of it. We absolutely needed to get her vocals in. So then we spent another 2 years trying to find time to record her vocals. And, you know, now we're 5 years into the project.
5 years into the project, Pearl's vocals were finally recorded, yet where was the mixing?
All the recording's done, all the arranging's done. I'm still mixing and mixing and mixing.
And Matthew and I are still dissecting it because, you know, I'm not in it all day like he is. So I'm the fresh ears.
Just couldn't figure out what the issue was.
Hearing our music continuously in the house.
The technology wasn't that complicated. You know, once you got your head around it, it really wasn't hard. You know, it's just a program on a computer, you know, that's all. A few leads to plug in. Should be a snap, right?
Matthew coming downstairs saying, I think we're there. And then we're hearing it and, I'll hear something like, oh, that's not quite right.
Just couldn't quite get what I wanted. And
then I see a very discouraged hubby going, it sounded so good on the computer.
He was trying to mix them, he didn't know what the heck he was doing, and it sounded like I had cotton in my ears.
There's a difference between mixing and arranging, okay? So you arrange the song just the way you like it, you know, and that's great. You know, that's when you should hand it over to somebody to mix it if you don't know how to mix it yourself. But I thought, I could do this. I have good ears.
And I hear it, and I'm thinking, okay, that's too loud. I can't hear this too well. Can you hear me? I can't hear my vocals here too well. And I can't offer technical support, but I can lend a willing, fresh ear.
You know, I got really junky PC speakers. That didn't help. And I got really good headphones, and they weren't great. But and so you tell yourself all these things, and my room's not soundproof and all this stuff, and
I just thought he was losing it, he's sitting there, he makes a mix, and, he hears it in the speakers, and he thinks, that's great.
so you mix one, and then mix two, and then mix three, mix four, mix five, mix six, mix seven, mix eight.
Brings it in your car, and he listens to it in the car, and he's like, oh, no, not so good. And then he goes back to the speaker, and he makes another mix, and, it goes on like this.
Final one, final two, final three, final four. No, not that final. This is the real final. Final.
Day after day after day after day. I mean, it was going for like months, weeks and months, and
Final version 4. Final version 6. Final master, with mastering, without mastering.
he just kept going, I'm so muddy. What's wrong? I can't fix it. Why don't I'm trying to learn, but it was just terrible.
And then you hit it. You're like, I got it, right? And there it is, and it's in the speakers, and it's beautiful. And then you put it in the car.
Dinky donkey, riding on a donkey, with my Jesus, riding to Jerusalem, yeah. All the people cry, glory, honor, power to you. Dinky donkey, riding on a donkey, with my Jesus, riding to Jerusalem, yeah. All the people cry, glory, honor, power. Even the rocks cry out, oh. Even the rocks cry out, oh. Even the rocks cry out, oh. Even the rocks cry out,
Oh. I thought maybe the issue is that the equipment's not good enough. So, I started buying more and more equipment, better equipment.
I don't get it, Maybe it's the speakers. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that.
Mixing desks, programs, better speakers, soundproofing, everything you could do. And that made the recordings so much better. But it didn't solve the mud in the mix.
Sounded like I had cotton in my ears.
Writing songs isn't the issue. I wake up at 3 a.m., and like I go to all the equipment, it's all set up. I can, I wake up at 3 a.m. with a song in my head. I mean, I hear everything. I hear the drums, the bass, the guitar, the keyboard parts. I hear if they're horns or violins. I can hear melodies, counter melodies, harmonies. I hear it all. If I could just plug something into my head and output it, it would be perfect. But, science hasn't quite caught up with that yet. So
We'll go on a 3-hour journey and hear the entire album. And with the kids, and the kids are going, it's good already. Please just release it. And we're
7 years into it all, the band felt called to a sabbatical. It would be a good time to finally finish mixing the album. But alas, it was not to be.
People said to me, you got to find your piece again. This mixing is, it's taking its toll. You got to find your piece, man. Yeah. Hey. Love. Hey. We had some great mixes. We thought, I had remixed everything. The best of my ability, my limited ability that I had, and all of a sudden the Mac went down. That had all the mixes. All we had was a backup copy from 2013. Here we were 7 years in. We thought we'd nailed it, and we thought we were there. But even listening back to those, they still sound muddy to me. They still don't sound fresh and bright like you would expect from a professional.
1 year into the sabbatical, Matthew discovered that he had cancer in the tonsils and had to undergo a year of treatment and heading back to health thereafter.
Well, finding out that I was unwell in the past was not nice, but, the doctors were good. They said wonderful things that gave us great confidence. Pearl is a natural health practitioner, so we trusted in a lot of protocols that she recommended. Obviously, we trusted in God that it would all go well. So we agreed to go through the process, the treatment and the subsequent healing, but really that took up a whole year. So that was an entire year there was no mixing on the Dinky Donkey album for good reason. We needed to concentrate on healing and getting well, So, but, life goes on by God's grace. One fun thing about radiation treatment is I got superpowers. You read comic books, right? I got really cool superpowers. So I am now able to become invisible. Ready? I will fade out. 1, 2, 3. You can still hold my voice though. See, I'm here. Alright, let's come back in. Ready? 1, 3, 2, 1. Isn't that cool?
9 years since the start of the Making of Dinky Donkey, lockdown began across the world. Surely that was a perfect time to begin mixing the album. But alas, it was not to be.
Lockdown was interesting. Being asked by the government to stay in our houses for a while. You would think that we would go and we would mix the album, but actually we had written a new song for Love Fest called You Are There, which we performed live, and so we decided we would mix that and release that just as a little single or an EP, and that took 6 months to mix to not perfect quality. It was probably the best mix I've done, but it was still imperfect. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do, and it did have the desired effect. It did make us really want to finish Dinky Donkey right afterwards. So, got it straight back in our heads, which was great.
At the 10th year anniversary of the recording of Dinky Donkey, Matthew finally realized it was time to get some professional help.
As his manager, I just, eventually somebody had to say it to him. And, it landed on me. So I said to him, Matty, look, your music is great, your songs are great, your musicianship is great, your voice is, is pretty good. It's good enough. And, but Matty, your mixing skills, they're just terrible. They're terrible. You can only mix, you can arrange, but to get that professional sound, you're just not getting it, Matty. You gotta let someone else do it. And, man, it just really broke him deep down inside. He just thought, but I could do anything. But, he couldn't do it. He couldn't mix. He couldn't get the mud out.
It's possible for anyone to record. Mixing levels and frequencies and all that jigging about, that's one process. The other process is then mastering. And that is what gives it the kind of glossy, high quality finish that you get in an actual, any type of album that you purchase.
No, I guess the end goal of any worship song is that you want to get closer to God. And, the funny thing about this 10-year-long experience, as schizophrenic as it was at times, full of happiness and joy, full of tragedy sometimes.
I think Dinky Donkey has been in the process quite organically been manifesting and developing, and it's taken all these years to put together.
The whole journey led to us getting closer and closer to him. And that was what it was really all about. Maybe that's why it took 10 years.
That's when they found rocket fuel and started their campaign to fundraise for the mixing of the Dinky Donkey studio album. But meanwhile, they had written so many other songs, it was also time to raise money to record the second studio album, The Sound of Heaven.
What once started as Matthew having this song in his heart, it feels like the right time to release it now, release the donkey.
I just had to take myself away from it all, go for long walks with God in nature and just get my head together again, get back in the game. I was just waiting and waiting for some sort of epiphany. And then it hit me. What if we did a crowd fundraiser in order to be able to mix it? But meanwhile, we'd written all these other songs that were like, whoa, what if we do a really big fundraiser and we not only mix Dinky Donkey, but we also record and mix and master the second album as well?
Costs a certain amount of money to have this final product achieved. And what I have gotten to understand is that there's so much involved in producing an album.
Recently we got the Mac back. So now, launching into this new project with a professional mixer, I at least have a really good mix, really well arranged, to give to my producer so that he can mix it for us.
It's been a labor of love from all of us, really.
So, Dinky Donkey, 10 years in the making. We're doing our Rocket Fuel fundraiser. We're raising enough money for the mixing and mastering of Dinky Donkey.
Get the equalizing and the levels and all of that gadgetry doodah that I have nothing to do with, and buy some pros and have it mastered, and so that what you get is a very beautiful product.
And also to record, mix, and master The Sound of Heaven, which has all the other songs that didn't make it onto Dinky Donkey, plus a load of new songs, more 3 a.m. wake-ups, fantastic stuff.
I don't know that we have gotten to a point where we say, oh, it is finished.
It's just going to be great. Really looking forward to finishing it and singing it out to the world.
There has to be a deadline, and there has to be, so this is why it's good to involve other people and the pros, because the pros say, this is the date for this will be the date for that, and launch will be on this date. And so we're working with this construct. Otherwise, what ends up happening is that you're working on an album for 10 years. That's what that looks like.
It's going to be wonderful, but the quality will be such that can actually make it onto radio stations across the globe, which is what we need. What we choose. We choose to release the donkey to the world.
How will I feel when all of this is done and dusted? I think we'll have a glass of wine and have a deep breath, and then we'll think about the next project. Be like, right, what's next? Because we'll have energy and momentum, and we'll be buzzing from it.
Well, we've come to the end of our story. Listening to Matthew and Pearl's ups and downs, just finding out why it took 10 years to mix this studio album, which we all greatly look forward to, its release of Dinky Donkey. If you would like to get behind Matthew and Pearl's fundraiser, they can finally finish mixing Dinky Donkey professionally and release it to the world. Help free the donkey.
But thank you so much for your part and your contribution, which enables us to get some people that really know their work and really know their field, and they can accelerate the release of this for sure. Thank you.
I've been your host, Alasdair Baxter, and it's been such a pleasure. Thank you, and good night.